Welcome to The Conscious Cut. I'm your host, Hoiki Liu. This podcast is all about rethinking sustainability across fashion, lifestyle, and everyday practices. Through conversations with entrepreneurs, policymakers, educators, and changemakers in Hong Kong and beyond, we'll explore real solutions, from industry-wide policies to the small habits we can all adopt. Let's cut through the noise and create meaningful change together. Welcome to another insightful episode of The Conscious Cut, where we spotlight change makers who are redefining success with purpose. Today, we have with us Naman Tekriwal, a recent graduate of HKUST, a student entrepreneur, innovator, and advocate for financial literacy and sustainability. So you started your first startup at 13, promoting financial literacy among high school students. While you were in high school, you represented India globally twice, finishing third in the Young Entrepreneurs Global Business Plan competition and second in the Wharton Investment competition. And also while you're a student, so that's why student entrepreneur, you co-founded Rural Invest, a microfinance platform that aims to enable the rural population to invest in financial instruments, and co-founded Breer, how do you say it?
Breer,
a food upcycling startup. Beer from food waste. And I'm super excited to have you here because besides our regular segment of this podcast will be beer tasting.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe for the first question, we won't jump into the beer first since we're talking about when you were 13 years old. But actually, no, even before that, why don't we go to a little bit about your background, where you're from, what brought you to Hong Kong? I always ask all my guests that.
No, first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure doing this with you, who's already running a successful business. So looking forward to learning from you as well. How did I come to Hong Kong? I was just mentioning that it's like my life is a story of serendipity, right? Everything happens because I was just at the right place at the right time. So I was born into a business family. So actually, before me and my sister, no one completed formal college education, right? And my dad had to join the family business when he was like 15. So he had to drop out of high school well to join the family business. And for me, all my summer vacations was literally accompanying him to the office. And, that's how I learned. That was my first tryst with like business, sales and things like that. But he always really, emphasized on the importance of, self-independence, financial independence, and, like doing things for your own. So, born in India, in Delhi, which is the capital of India, and always emphasized on education. But I have an elder sister, so she got the opportunity to choose university first, and she chose the US.
Okay.
So she went to the West, and then when it was my turn, my dad gave me the choice that, one child is already in the West, so I want the other to be in the East.
Yeah.
So you get options in Singapore and Hong Kong. You can choose. So then I applied to Singapore and Hong Kong universities, got into HKUST, and thus took the decision to come to Hong Kong. So not 100% my choice because it was a narrow choice down by my father, but turned out to be the best decision of my life.
Yeah, definitely. Because, I'm just going to jump straight in and say this. You started Breer while you were in school, in university.
In my first month of university, actually. So, yeah.
So you can't do that if you're in the US, I assume.
100%, yeah. No, you need so much more time to settle in. Hong Kong, I saw a problem and I was like, why wait?
Also, the fact that you be an underage drinker starting a beer company.
Exactly. So Hong Kong
in US or Delhi, right?
Yes. So Hong Kong worked out in my favor that way. Yes.
Okay. So I'm glad you came to Hong Kong because we get to talk about this. Okay. Going back to you starting your first entrepreneur journey when you were 13 years old, starting up a startup that promotes financial literacy.
Correct.
What inspired you to do it? I know you already said a bit, your dad would be very keen on you guys being financially independent, but like I told you when I met you, I still feel like I'm financially illiterate, So why did you think it was important for everybody, at the time? And who were you promoting to?
Yeah. So for me, right, coming from personal experiences. Like I bought my first stock when I was like 11.
Okay,
Because
wow.
my dad really wanted, that for me to learn these things. Like if you get money, there's a portion of spending and there's a portion of saving, right? So how do you save money? How do you allocate money? These things were taught to me at home, right? But when I was going to school and I was seeing my friends, no one was talking about money. And I think that's also cultural, very similar between China and India, right? That there's like this taboo around money, that it's the male superior of the house which will manage all the money, right? And the kids are not exposed to it, the females are not exposed to it. But my dad approached it differently. But when I saw that, my friends are not talking about it, I'm like, that's concerning, because India, 1 out of 3 people still don't have a bank account. And like less than 10% of people invest in the Indian stock markets. The traditional form of saving is still cash denominated. So there are concepts like inflation, which majority of the India doesn't even understand. So I was like, this needs to start from the grassroots, which is from education. And it was not included in our curriculum. I don't know why we were learning about French Revolution, but not compound interest, right? That's what we need to learn about. How does compounding work? So it really started as a social initiative that if I know something, I can go and tell that to other students. The first hurdle was, will they take me seriously? That depends on the content. But I started reaching out to high schools, middle schools that, hey, I want to come and do a seminar, webinar about financial literacy. And my pitch to students used to be that if you start saving your pocket money today, in 5 years' time, you don't even know, you might be able to fully finance your college education with the right investments, right? So then people started understanding the importance of it. And then, after I think, visited over 100 schools, and an year later, schools and parents started reaching out to me and saying that, hey, you encourage these students, but now where do they save the money? Because they don't know how to, their parents don't know how to. And I was like, okay, then we need to solve this, right? So because I couldn't get a license, I was only 14 at that time, right? So I went out and partnered with a company which had, the right licenses. And then we started a microfinance platform where students would, contribute like $1, $2, $10. And then that would be a portion of their pocket money saved. And then we would pool that money and invest it into mutual funds. And then the whole idea was that maybe they're not making significant return, but it is habit inculcation, right? How am I saving is more important than how much am I earning. So that was the idea. And, I ran that with all the hurdles and challenges for the next 2 years, literally learning how to run a business, like how to make pitch decks, how to make presentations, how to talk, all of these things, right? And that, when I was 16, there was a larger mutual fund house in India which wanted to start a similar product, which was like educational, but they also wanted high school students to participate. And I had data of over like 50,000 students, who wanted to do this, which is like top tier cream of India, their parents' data, their data. So then they asked me that, can we buy out your company because we want the data? So it was predominantly a data acquisition. And the saddest part of this entire story is I still don't know where that acquisition money is because I couldn't have a bank account at that in India. Right? So my dad did the negotiation and my dad got the money. But I hope it's safely invested for me. But I still don't know where that money is. But
it's probably in your dad's going to tell you it's in your college education, right?
Which I already financed myself. So I don't know where that money is, right? So, but I hope it's being invested for the right causes and reasons. But that 3-year experience really shaped my DNA as a builder. I realized that I come from this specific sect in part of the Indian community, which is just business builders. That's what we do. Like, it's almost like doing a job is a sin, like you cannot do a job. Like, it's just like your society will look down upon you if you do a job. So I think a part of it was, every dinner table conversation was about business. But as soon as I did it myself, I was like, this is what I'm made for, I want to take decisions. I want to be accountable. And the impact I can create with business is what really struck me. Because, at that time, this concept of like social entrepreneurship was just coming up. That, capitalism has created so many problems in the world because it was maximization of profit.
Yeah.
And I feel, and I learned and I experienced it myself, that it is only capitalism and conscious capitalism. We're discussing conscious cut today, right? But it's like conscious capitalism which can also solve these problems.
Yeah.
That's why I see entrepreneurship as in many ways like an enabler for solving so many of these global problems, be it climate change, be it financial illiteracy, or so many other problems which the world is plagued with right now.
Right. Because I would assume, like, not even assume, I would say, like, financial literacy, especially for kids at a young age, students, it almost seems like such a luxury. You get it if you're from like a top tier family, you know, but like you said, like, it's actually should be for everybody. But how do they get involved? And if it's just through, you know, like I said, I've done those silly competitions when I was young, where it's like, oh, pretend you have $100 and invest in something. But when you don't really understand what you're doing and you're just being thrown to like experience and try with no understanding, it's basically gambling, right?
Exactly.
So it's so great that you're actually putting it into a practical way for them to understand, and then for them to actually be able to practically invest and see the outcome. Because I feel like a lot of times also for students, I think this is for me, I'm talking for myself, but if something doesn't feel real, it's hard to really invest your time and your energy into it.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. So having this in an actual platform, that must be so real. And so is that what shaped your later ventures, I guess, with Roll Invest?
Yeah. So like once, you know, like that company acquired the high school financial literacy company, right? I was just thinking that these students still had resources. You know, they had wealthy families, you know, tier 1 Indian families. So they were well-to-do, right? And that's why they would have, in the end, figured it out. Yes, they figured it out early because of my assistance, but they would have figured it out. But the real problem lies with the rural population of India, which is the blue-collar workers, the farmers. And that was the time when India witnessed one of the most significant global financial revolutions. Like, we got access to democratized internet, like, you know, like 5G being available in villages. And then obviously with the access of internet, the access of bank accounts, the access of, you know, this technology of United Payments Interface called UPI in India, you know, that's what ushered in a wave of like financialization in India. And I was like, how do we now take this concept of financial literacy and bring it to people who actually need it? And that's what germinated the idea of Rural Invest, which is go to tier 4, tier 5, tier 6 cities, right? And tell them how they can do it. But the challenges were completely different, right? These people can't even speak English, most of them, right? And they will only speak their regional languages. And in India, at every 100 kilometers, the language changes. So the aspect that you have to be their friend, because in tier 1, you can still convince people that stock market is good. For them, stock market is actually gambling. For them, cash is king. You know, that's the only investment, and maybe gold and real estate. That's the only thing they invest in. So,
and like something that you can hold.
Exactly,
right?
Like tangible. Like, they're like, what is the stock? You
that's
know,
when we talk about like manufacturing like that. It's a lot of times manufacturing is done by people who only understand the concept of physical items.
100%. So, that's why this, like when I was building Rural Invest, right, it was really important to partner with the right government organization. So the first partner we got was like a government body with the same exact mission of like doing what we were doing. So like then we set up like rural camps, very similar playbook, just like, you know, like the scale and the impact was astronomically different, you know, because these were people who were probably on their last dollar when we were reaching them, right? They were like hand to mouth to the extent that they were spending what they were earning the same day.
Yes.
Right? And enabling them to, you know, take these decisions. Like I literally remember there was this one story of like a farmer who started to invest via the platform we built. And then due to bad monsoons, his like roof in his, you know, home fell off. And then all the cash which he had stored basically got washed away in the same house. But because he was investing with us, he had that emergency fund, which allowed him to build his home back. And I was like, that's the impact I created. You know, like that is what is enabling farmers and blue collar workers to have that emergency fund, which could finance lands, which could finance emergencies, which could finance education. So that was really, like my moment to be like, I'm creating tangible impact. And that is when I was like, like I want to do this for the rest of my life. But obviously, at the same time, I had to progress in my life as well and take the hard decision to come to Hong Kong, right? So then I passed on this business to, like healthily to another organization to run. I still advise them time and again. But now it's doing incredibly well, back in India, creating a lot more impact with the right partner and companies. And I'm so happy that I was, able to be a part of starting something so big and so meaningful.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted you as a student entrepreneur, but also an innovator and an advocator, because, you're able to just start up something, ensure that it's going to run smoothly and pass it on, and you're on to your next thing. But it's so good that you can actually help the lower class, like the rural people that you say, like, for them to be able to see past their day to day and just see beyond that, like, to actually feel like there's a future. Yeah. It's giving them a lot of hope.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's just powerful in so many ways.
Yeah. So I think besides being a financial tool, it's just something that really lifts the whole community.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. And then you're in Hong Kong now. You're in HKUST. Okay, so your dad is the reason that got you to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
But why? What did you study when you were in university?
So I studied management and marketing, but when I joined the university, I did not declare a major. And management and marketing, I can get to that story, right? But for me, the idea was that I had, because I just had heard things about finance, Hong Kong being a finance capital, and my 2 startups previously were in finance. I'm like, sure, finance is what I understand. Finance is what I'll do. Only for me to come and understand that finance in India and finance globally works very differently. Global finance is all about investment banking and all of these things. And there's no, the problems which we're solving are not the same. So when I came to Hong Kong, right, for me, I was like, yes, impact is something which appeals to me. And for me, I was very exploratory. I was that one student who would raise his hand up for everything and volunteer for everything and say no to, nothing. Yeah. I was saying yes to everything. So when I came to Hong Kong, the first vivid difference I noticed between cultures was the food waste. Because as an Indian, we're raised with the value to not waste food.
Yeah.
It's almost a sin to waste food. It's if you want to eat 1 bowl of rice, you take 1 bowl of rice and you finish it. Not take 4 bowls of rice, waste 3 and only eat 1, right? So we were raised with that value. But Hong Kong was so fast paced that I would see students, fill up a entire plate of food, but they had to rush for a class and leave everything else out and just waste, right? Yeah. And the preferences of people in general. So I was like, this is something it was just an overarching problem I saw. Not wanting to do something about it, but again, serendipity and I go hand in hand, right? So that's what happened. Literally, I was at this orientation for a social impact competition. And in that room, there were only 2 people who constantly kept engaging with the organizer. It was me. And now the person who is my co-founder.
Yeah.
Because I literally met my co-founder in a room full of students, but it was the 2 people who kept engaging with the, the people who were organizing the session. I was like, okay, there's definitely a connect. And then we connected on the problem of food waste.
Okay.
But it was no, we don't have to start a company. That was just the idea, right? And then serendipity would have it. We were taking a same course, and this is when protests were going on in Hong Kong, right? So everything on campus was shutting down at 8 p.m. And there was this midterm exam which we took, and it ended at 9 p.m. And we didn't have any dinner options on campus.
Right.
So let's take a taxi, and this is HKUST, far off in Sai Kung, right? It's it takes a decade to get there. So we had to take a taxi to go to TKO, which is the closest metropolis near us. And the only thing which was open was the bakery.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then we literally went there, and they were literally closing, and my co-founder, who's like, born and raised in Hong Kong, could speak Cantonese. She convinced them that please give us 5 minutes. We want something to eat. So we got whatever we could. But we were sitting there, and then he was like, I'll wind up the bakery. And then he took all the bread, which was not sold that day, and threw it into a rubbish bag, like a black rubbish bag.
Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, I asked the question, right? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to donate it, use it the next day? What's the plan? He's like, no, I'm just going to throw it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? Because in India, we store bread for like 2-3 days in the refrigerator.
Yes.
I was like, why would you throw it? Because he's like, it's way too expensive to dispose it off carefully. It's not people's preference to consume not fresh bread, because I'd bake fresh bread tomorrow and people would want fresh bread. So the only easiest option is to throw it. And that is where I was like, oh, this is a big problem. This is not a problem of like students. This is a problem which is existing at commercial scale. So then I was like, we definitely need to do something about this, but we didn't know what, right? And then we were like exploring charities. There's already Feeding Hong Kong. There's already Breadline. There's so much happening. And then the eureka moment literally happened to me when I was in Lang Kwai Fong. So the midterm exams had ended. They literally ended, and as I said, I just became eligible to drink. Like it was at the brink of my eligibility that I can drink now. And then I was still not drinking because I was like, not the right day to start, whatever. But I was in a bar or club and I saw the bartender drinking something, same color as beer, but was not beer. And then I asked him, what are you drinking? And then he said, this is a drink called Kvass, Kvass, right? So this is a very popular drink in China.
Okay.
And then when I dug up history, it's like this drink originally used to be created for Egyptian pharaohs.
Okay.
Then it migrated to Russia as a popular drink, and now it's a very popular drink in China. And kvass is basically alcohol made by fermenting bread.
Okay, right.
And I was like, this is the eureka moment. You saw the problem last week, and today you can see that you can make a product which is commercial, habit forming, third largest consumed drink in the whole world. Why not do that?
Solves the biggest, food waste is also the biggest polluter.
Exactly.
In the whole world.
1/3 of carbon emissions is food waste, right?
Yeah.
I was like, this is what we have to do. We have to make beer from bread.
Yes.
That was the idea, right? And then what followed was like 10 months of pure R&D and all the humble beginnings of Breer as to how we got to where we are today. But as I said, Breer is literally a business born out of serendipity. Everything just happened because I was at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. Being in Hong Kong at the right age.
At the right age, at the right places, and it just happened.
Yeah, that's so great. Because, actually, the episode before this one, I was just talking to Green Hour. So, they also collect bread and we donate, we give it out on the same night to people on the streets. But,
so many charities, like everyone's doing amazing work. Like, we didn't want to, impede on what they're doing. So,
But it's a good balance because, the truth is we approach a lot of bakeries that don't want to donate the bread to us. They will rather discard of it and throw it away. And, this is part of the reason why I'm always like, it gets to the end of the day, either some businesses need to come in to make things make sense because we can't, or the government needs to step in. But it's also hard for the government to step in and be like, hey, look, as a business, you have to donate things that it's wasteful and self-wasting and donate it. A lot of business, from clothes to food, they don't want to do it. And we all understand the reasons at the end of the day. But, as you guys come in and it's like, look, I'm going to buy your waste at a low price. Oh, you don't buy?
We don't buy.
Oh, and they fully donated.
They fully donated, but the logic there is that, we now obviously work with businesses who had to dispose it off properly. So it was a cost for them.
Yes.
So we replaced that cost of disposition by, using our logistics to do that.
Yeah.
So it is a win-win. We don't pay for the bread, and we are obviously eventually we might have to, but right now we don't pay for the bread.
Okay.
But it's like the way we work with companies, it is public relations for those companies. It is sustainability for those companies. So those companies want to do it.
Yeah, because if they can document the data of how much food waste they're actually giving to you guys to save it from going into the landfill, it's actually very impactful.
Correct.
Can we try the beer?
Sure, we must,
Yes.
Because our tagline in this company is literally called "Does Good, tastes better.
Yeah, great.
So, we, in the end, we're a beer.
Yes.
Yeah, you'll buy me for the first time because yes, Naman, sustainable, all
Yes.
good. But if it doesn't taste good, you're not gonna come back the second time.
Exactly.
As simple as that, right?
Okay. So what's the first one we have?
So the first one we have is the most approachable beer we have. It's a lager. Like, if
I'm gonna take a look at it.
yes, please. If you don't care about sustainability at all, and you just want a beer,
Okay.
it's a lager.
Okay.
4.8%, you can drink it all day if you want. So that's the logic of creating a lager, basically.
I love that how it's got a little beer, like a few pieces of beer, but is it meant to look like a hole?
No, so I mean,
Your face?
in the end, I became a marketing student, right? So
Yes.
there's a lot of logic which actually went into the packaging.
Okay.
So there are 3 elements which are like quite unique about the wow. That's a lot of beer for lunchtime.
I know we should be tasting, but
Yeah.
okay, I'll give myself less.
Yes.
Here you go.
So there's so much thought which actually went. Cheers. There's so much thought which actually went into the packaging, right? So because when we started originally, it was like, we like intensively tested with customers, and people were like, you have fancy packaging, but the bread story does not come out. So we were like, how can we make the bread story shout? So there are 3 things in that can which is really important, right? So if I could really guide people, the first thing is the cutout.
Yes.
The cutout is that
The waste.
the idea was that yes, it was cut out from the system and you can see yourself making the change. So that's the logic, that we self-empower people, right? The second thing is this checkered line, which represents all the supermarket bread from Garden. So everyone who's ever bought bread in Hong Kong knows that there's checkered lines on Garden packaging, right? So it's a instant resonance. And the third thing is the back of the can, which is we close the life cycle of bread. So when the can is closing, it's a bread packet closing. So it's like us closing the life cycle of the bread. And we have this QR code on the cans, which when you scan, you get to know the exact impact you made as an individual by drinking this can. So how much grams of bread did you save? How much carbon emissions did you save? How much water did you save? Everything.
That's so great. That's what the fashion industry is talking about
Yeah.
when we want digital product passport. It's
Yeah.
pretty much that.
Exactly. So that's what we do. So Breer stands for bread plus beer, basically. Yes.
That's so great. Cheers again.
Cheers.
It's really crisp and refreshing, this one.
It's called a crisp lager.
Right.
So that's the intention. And the one thing which we've been very thoughtful about, right? My co-founder is a female.
Right.
And beer is typically, perceived to be an alpha male, machoistic drink, right? But I was like, no, like it needs to be an equitable drink. So like we try to make our beer intentionally more light and easy on the palate, like not like something which will hit your throat, because females don't like that experience. So like compared to other beer companies, my data shows that like we have a really balanced customer profile of male and female. It's not very male heavy dominated, which is also something which is quite interesting.
I do think, I don't know, I guess even in my own groups of people I see it, like growing up, it was relatively balanced in Hong Kong, I'll say.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay, and so I like this one, but should we keep trying the next ones so we can compare them side to side?
For sure, yeah. So we'll go up in alcohol content from now.
Okay.
They started at 4.8.
This is nice. Yeah, it's
and
like.
we'll end at like 6.3. So yeah.
How long? I'm gonna keep asking you these questions. I know how the idea came to you guys, but how long was the actual trial and error process? I mean, it seems like it all makes so much sense because I think beer ferments from wheat bread, but how did the science part of it all actually come down?
So that was the most humbling experience, like timeline of my life, right? For me, I was a marketing student. My co-founder was an electrical engineering student. So no background in chemistry at all, right?
And no background in food.
And at all, right? Zero. So it was just very interesting for us. Like we were like, let's go and learn. But that is exactly when COVID hit. So the government banned alcohol sales. All the breweries shut down. I cannot go and learn. So I was like, well, nothing's going to stop me. So I very proudly am a YouTube learned brewer.
What?
I literally learned beer making on YouTube. So I ordered a $35 home brewing kit from Amazon. This is when I was in my dorm room, right? And then I was like just tinkering around. So literally, there have been times where I was in the common room of HKUST and I blew up the entire room. And the roof was filled with like wheat, right? So we've literally come from those days where we did not know how to do anything, and then obviously progressing along that lines. And so that was when we made our home batches, very like extremely bad beer, but just trying to learn, right? And then when the ban got lifted, then, we started reaching out to breweries that, hey, can we come and learn from you and, do a pilot brew with you? And then fortunately, one of the head brewers at a local brewery was an HKUST alumni. I was like, perfect, perks of being an HKUST alumni, let's get them. So we started approaching them and we did 22 or 23 iterations before we even came to an edible product.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I wouldn't say tasty.
I was going to say at first, I was thinking, I was like, oh, you were testing in the dorm during COVID when everyone's on lockdown. You must have the most popular guy. Like everyone's coming to be your
100%. It's because it was so cool that at 19 you knew how to make beer. Right? And you were the only student legally allowed by the university to store alcohol in your dorm room. Because otherwise you can't store alcohol in your dorm room, right? My dorm room was my laboratory, it was my meeting room, it was my warehouse, it was everything, right?
Yeah.
So it was extremely amazing to be a student at that time because everyone's like, can I volunteer? I'm like, try at your own risk. You could potentially die also here, right? The iterations professionally took like a lot of time because every batch took 3 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Because it's beer, right? It needs time to ferment.
Right.
So 3 weeks into 23. You can imagine it was almost an year-long process before, we really started making progress. Because what we really had to figure out was that how is the bread affecting the recipe?
Yes, right? Because you need to come up with specific flavors.
Exactly. So it was difficult. The simplest example I can give you is if you're making beer regularly, right? You add a bit of salt for stability. However, bread is already processed. So salt is added. But what we did not realize until very late in the process, right? Why is the beer becoming salt? Because we're adding calcium sulfate, plus the bread already has the salt.
Yes.
So thus the double salt makes the beer salty. So we made some which were sweet, some which were salty, some which were not even edible, some were like very bad. But as soon as we made a product which we were like drinkable, it won't kill people, I was like, let's go and speak to customers. So we set up a pop-up booth. I remember our first pop-up booth was at a place called Explorium in Lychee Cork. And then we set up a pop-up booth and then, we made people try. And we're like, please give us feedback, right? With some packaging, whatever, back in the day. And I literally had people like spit the beer out in front of me because it was bad, right?
Okay,
I was not proud of the product, but I was like, sure, if you want spit it on my face, I'm happy, but give me feedback, which is more important.
And you need the honesty.
Yeah, I really need the honesty. So it was that feedback which then snowballed into becoming, the products which we have on the product line today. So the product which we'll try today is actually our first product which we created.
Wow,
so this is the flagship product called Breer Pale Ale because Pale Ale is the most approachable form of craft beer. So this is the first product we created. And for the first year, we only had one product, which is this. And then we literally went to like store to store, sir, please test, please, give us a chance, give us, keep us on your shelves. So that's how we started. So this was literally our first product and our flagship product for the longest.
And where can we find your products right now?
So now we sell in over, 300 plus stores. So you can buy us in City Super. You can buy us in, Slowwood. You can buy us on our website. You can buy us at a lot of bars, bottle shops, restaurants. And we're available at a lot of places. But obviously, since then, the business model has evolved. You can also find us in 7-Eleven.
Okay.
But with 7-Eleven, the logic and the model is that we make a custom product for 7-Eleven. So it's still Breer, but a product made by Breer for 7-Eleven. So now there are many different models at play which we can discuss, but our own products you can obviously find in bars, bottle shops, restaurants. You go to 99 Bottles, the most popular on Peel Street, you can find us there. So you can find us at a lot of these different popular craft beer places.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it also makes sense that PS 7-Eleven does sell their own brands of baked goods. If
Yes.
they can, do they give it to you guys?
So the logic with 7-Eleven is not baked goods, but it's something similar. So what we did with 7-Eleven is 7-Eleven has 7 Cafe. So what we do is that we collect coffee grounds from 7-Eleven, which is the powder which is left after you make coffee, right?
And the coffee is actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's $16. So any day. But we take the coffee grounds and then we make a coffee stout for 7-Eleven.
Oh, wow.
So we don't infuse artificial flavor. We actually upcycle coffee grounds, use that for the flavoring of the coffee along with the bread. And then we make a coffee stout for 7-Eleven, which is now selling in all 7-Eleven stores in Hong Kong.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Cheers to this one first.
Cheers.
And this is the Pale Ale.
Pale ale, yes.
It's definitely less citrusy and less crisp than the last one. The last one has a very bright hit.
Correct.
But I almost want to say this seems like an easier drink though.
Yeah, so the pale ale and the lagers are just more fermented. Pale ales are less fermented. So that's why it's different styles, right? Pale ale, it's more crushable. You can keep drinking more and more of pale ales. Lagers bloat you less. So that's why the Germans drink lagers.
Oh, wow.
The Germans, the reason why they can drink beer over water is because they drink 3% lagers. So that's why they can drink 10, 15, 20 a day, right? It's
Right.
because they do 3% and it's a lager. So it won't bloat you.
How do you control the alcohol level?
So you technically can't control.
Yeah.
You do the pH testing after the alcohol is made, but with the time of fermentation and the type of yeast and grain you're using that what's your target range. Our target range for most beers is between the 4 to 5%,
Right.
but bread has more sugar and processed than grain. So that's why you'll find all our beers to be 5.5 because you ended up having more sugar.
I see.
Right. So, for example, there are breweries in Hong Kong which add actual mango juice to make mango beers.
Yes.
Right. And those beers can be 13% as well.
Oh,
Because
right.
it's actual solid fructose being eaten by yeast. So that's why you'll create more alcohol in that process.
I see. And so, are you guys still looking to scale up Breer? Is it going to go international, I guess? Is there a chance?
Well, we're speaking at the right time because we just launched in Singapore a month ago.
Okay, great.
So after 4 years of operations in Hong Kong, we decided that there are other places where we can, apply the same solution, but we're not the export model because that is against the entire mission of sustainability. We don't want to export.
Yeah.
What we want to do is take local bread from Singapore, make it locally, and then make a custom product for Singapore. So the products we launch in Singapore will not be a Mandarin sour.
Right.
It will be a pandan lager because
Yes,
Singapore loves pandan. Singapore loves kaya toast. So why will I use white bread? I will use kaya toast, right? So it has to be localized. So we just launched in Singapore with our first pilot product. Again, in a similar collaboration of what we do in Hong Kong. And we're also going to launch in India by the end of the year.
Oh, great.
So yeah, now we have plans of taking Breer international.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. So to grow it in this kind of scale, how do you secure funding? How do you go to the different areas? Do you approach in each area locally again or?
So Breer is fully bootstrapped. We never raised external funding.
Okay.
Me and my co-founder own 100% of the company. But the caveat was that, we raised a lot of money through grants and competitions. We pitched to a lot of government grants. We pitched to a lot of competitions, right? And I think that's a message to all, student entrepreneurs because it's very, lack of a better word, sexy to say that, I'll go and raise funds. But we were also enamored by the sexiness, right? We also went to a VC that, hey, we want to raise funds, we want to scale. They're like, sure, but you'll have to drop out. And how do I convince my Indian parents that I want to drop out of a university, right? Like, it just doesn't work that way. So it was, I didn't even raise that conversation, right? So that, hey, actually, I'm on a student loan, but I'm going to drop out of university, like, so I didn't even raise that. But I was like, like every student comes up to me and be like, I have an amazing, brilliant idea, but I don't have money. I'm like, that's the worst excuse you can give me. Like literally the first check of 50K was written by HKUST to us.
Ooh.
Like, you have to be at the right place and you have to have the right business plan, right? HKUST amazingly supports entrepreneurs. Like that's why there's a reason that if Hong Kong has generated 13 or 14 unicorns, 9 or 10 are from HKUST. Because of how the university treats entrepreneurs, right? Like the fact that we literally got an entire office to work at HKUST, they gave me special permissions to store alcohol in my dorm room. All of this helps, right? So that's the logic, that's the idea. And we have never raised funding, and we always ran this company with the idea of profit, right? So the one core philosophy of this company is the 3 Ps, which is people, planet, and profit. Because without profit, you're running an NGO, right? You have to generate profit for you to serve people and the planet.
Yeah.
So we always wanted to be a profit-making company since the first year. So we focused on that. We didn't want the burn-to-earn model that you keep burning for 10 years and then, you finally take an exit. It's a model. People do it. I don't support it, right? So we never raised money. And now we are profitable enough to finance our operations. We don't need more money. Right? We can easily scale into other countries because of our asset-light model. We don't own any factories. We work with existing factories with strong IP and, strong legal documentation. And we don't need manufacturing setups. Thus, it is very easy for Breer to scale as a concept. Because we just go to other countries and be like, hey, we'll do the same concept. We find a partner and we become the R&D, we become the idea, you become the local logistics partner and the local support partner. So that's how Breer is scaling globally now.
That's so smart and so clever. So, I guess all of this did come to you because ever since you were a student, you've been joining a lot of different competitions and hackathons. I also want to try the next beer. But okay, so you've won. I got this from you on LinkedIn, but you've won over 35 hackathons, including by Grab, Häagen-Dazs, Deloitte. But when did you start? And how many competitions were you looking at in a year, or was it like? How did you decide what competitions to join, when to join? What's that whole process like?
Well, the answer to it was simple, right? For me, learning is experiential learning. Like, when people say that, Naman, how did you manage the time to run a company while you were a student? I'm like, it is so complementary. Like, whatever I was learning in university, I was applying to Breer. Whatever I was learning at Breer, I was applying in university. It is so complementary. And I feel university can help you, but university can't make you skilled, right? The skills really come from you doing actual things. And I feel hackathons and case competitions are you getting an outlet to do that. For example, an hackathon with Grab or Häagen-Dazs, right? It's like the company is facing a problem, which is an actual commercial problem. How do you solve for it? That's the thinking which people should have. And that's why more than entrepreneurship, I'm an advocate for entrepreneurial mindset. Because that you can apply even if you're an employee, even if you're an NGO worker, even if you're a housewife, even if you're a politician. Entrepreneurial mindset is more important, right, than being an entrepreneur. So I think these hackathons really form the foundation of, you doing and approaching problems in the right way. How can you break down problems? How can you structure solutions? How to pitch better? How to present better? Like when I participated in my first hackathon, I remember our pitch was so bad. Because in India, we're literally raised with the value that rote learn everything. Rote learn the entire script and just blurb it out. But that's not how presentations are. There's a component of storytelling. There's a component of composure, poise. Literally like now when I write my scripts or when I practice my scripts, it's like an average human can speak 150 words in a minute, right? That's the average. I try to speak 130.
Okay.
So that you seem more calm, you seem more composed. But in India, you'll be like, go fast as, as fast as you can, 200, 250,
Yes.
300, just comprise all the knowledge you have. I'm like, that's not how it works. It's not the quantity, it's the quality. So there's like just so many things which you learn out of these experiences, right? So I feel these hackathons and case competitions are what university can really give you. And the opportunity to meet so many other like-minded students, the opportunity to meet like literally like because of that one competition orientation, I met my co-founder, right? It's like people say, how will I meet my co-founder? I'm like, if someone has taken the initiative to participate in a case competition, they're anyway above 99% who haven't taken the initiative. So the filter is already there for you, that the people who are taking the initiative are the people who you want as co-founders. And then you make cherry, nitpicking after that. So I feel these competitions are really helpful for you to build a mindset of how to solve problems.
Right. So it's a great way to, I guess, set up your
Open the
path
thought.
for logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, logical path. So it's, I guess, are these hackathons that you joined, were they in university mostly or in high school already? Because you already represented India twice while you were in high school.
Correct. So yeah, I mean, this knack of competitions came to me in high school anyway, right? Because I just wanted, again, experiential learning by doing. I just wanted to do that, right? So literally, like my high school teachers infamously say that across 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th grade, I would have sat in class for 1 year. Because
you're always out competing.
Exactly. I was like literally just going out and, representing India, representing my school in different things. So this is a sour beer.
So different.
This is a sour beer. So so this is a very unique beer. This was our Chinese New Year special. So it's bread. And what we do beyond the bread is we worked with juice shops in Hong Kong, collected mandarin peels. And then the mandarin was zested in the recipe. So it was mandarin peels also being upcycled. This was our Chinese New Year edition.
I can taste the mandarin instantly, right away. And actually, this all the cans say this. I love how it says 1 can serves 20 grams of surface bread, 4 grams of mandarin peels, 0.3 meters square landfill space. Nice. And 0.055 meter square of water.
Correct.
With this beer, you are supporting UN SDG number 12.
Which is responsible consumption and production.
Perfect. Oh, I actually love this. It's a little bit small for my eyes, but but wow, this is like fine print that I actually want to read. So going back, but cheers first.
Cheers.
This is really interesting.
Yeah.
But I can totally see this being a Mandarin, like a Chinese New Year or any Chinese dishes. It's like a dinner opener. Instead of your welcome champagne, you have your welcome Mandarin.
And I mean, sour beers, are very unique to the craft beer world because you find pale ales and lagers everywhere. But if you can do a good sour, which is not overpowering and yet palatable, which means you did the right job, right?
Because I will say most of the time, and Joey knows this, most of the time I don't like citrus beers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is really nice.
Well, that's opposed to my girlfriend. She likes citrus beers. She only likes citrus beers.
I always stay away from it. Actually, I'm usually more of a red ale drinker.
Speaks the Canada.
There you go. Yes. So, okay. With all these competitions, challenges, hackathons that you've joined, now you've started your own, right? What is this thing that you started? Young Tycoon Business Challenge, is it correct? And localized or what it globalized?
Young Tycoon's Business Challenge, honestly, if you'd ask me that until whatever I've achieved in my life till date, what am I most proud of? I would say it's the YTBC, which is Young Tycoon's Business Challenge. And the reason I say that is because we started it because there was COVID, right? And you
started this while you're a student. I get that. Okay.
Correct. So I started this when in my second year of university, right? So it was COVID, peak of COVID, right? Everything was on Zoom. Again, factories were shut down. This is when Omicron was taking off, like the second wave, after the first wave was done. And we were like, first of all, this was me and my high school best friends were separated in different parts of the world. I was like, I need a reason to talk to you every day, right? So then I was like, we want to do something together. And for me, you mentioned about the business plan competition I participated in during high school. And I feel in many ways that competition formed like, the building blocks or the Lego blocks of my entrepreneurial journey, because that competition taught me what is a business plan, what is a pitch deck, like all of these very, very basic things. So I was like, there are many opportunities like this for university students, but there is still not a lot of opportunities for high school students. And I wanted to do something, and you had time on hand, right? Because it was COVID, everything was online. I was like, let's start something which is a competition, but at the same time, it's a movement where I can get access to high school students anywhere in the world, because it's online, to experts anywhere in the world, right? So it was a competition where student teams got mentors, they got workshops, they got resources, and we literally started it as a passion project. Like, no intention, like it was fully non-for-profit. We did not generate a single dollar of money with this. And we literally started with the first, and I was like, let's see if we can get 100 applications. And when we closed applications, we had over 20,000 applications from 70 countries in the world.
How do you even handle that one?
So yeah, when we saw the numbers, right, I was like, okay, we need a team. I had 4 people. So, but then to start this competition, I partnered up with an edtech company in India, which had the right resources. And then, like brick by brick, we created a team of like 250 student volunteers.
Wow.
So at one point, there were 250 people reporting to me.
Yeah.
All of them being students. So this entire competition was by students for students.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then we ran this, and then we raised sponsorships. Like our competition till date has been the competition which has awarded the most money in cash prizes for across high school competitions. So the winner gets 5,000 USD, which is a lot of money for a high school student, right?
Yeah.
So we ran this for 2 years online, and then we downsized it to become offline, because as soon as COVID ended, people didn't want online stuff anymore.
Yes.
People wanted physical experiences. So we downsized it to be physical. And I passed it off again healthily, someone else to run the physical operations. But the 2 years I ran it online, right? The thing which really humbled me, or I'm like really grateful for, is it was not only students from the US or Hong Kong or India, which are more mature markets, but we had students from like Mongolia, Sudan, like Nigeria, and they probably don't even have access to basic education,
Right.
but they had access to entrepreneurial education. And that was so heartwarming for me that, I'm able to create, like at least just sow this seed that work for yourself. Don't be a job seeker, be a job giver.
Yeah.
And that was like, like when we ran this for 2 years, we, changed the life. And I still hear stories of like students that, hey, I became an entrepreneur now because of what you taught me back in the day, right?
Yeah.
At one point, we had over 1,000 mentors as part of the program, doing workshops, working with students. And I think everyone was just coming from an altruistic sense. No one wanted to make money in this.
Yeah.
But the impact which we have created, we probably won't see it immediately, but 10 years down the line when we see it, like I see like someone just pitched on Shark Tank who was a past participant of ITBC. I'm like, this is what I wanted, like even if we can create like one Elon Musk from all the 40,000 participants of that competition, the mission was achieved.
Yeah. Because not to like crap on current education, but it's
no,
in a
we
way
should crap on current education, to be very honest.
I need a few more drinks to do that properly.
Yeah.
But no, like, I mean, they can't help it. In a way, they're failing our kids because they haven't caught up.
Exactly.
I don't even, they haven't, it's not that they haven't caught up with the future. They haven't even caught up with what's happening currently.
Yeah.
We're studying from curriculums that was built like how many years ago?
Yeah, for sure. And like, honestly, I don't blame the universities or the schools, right? Because it is too hard to catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I feel the future of education has to be experiential.
And it also needs exactly what you say. It's those mentors who have the real life experience to be willing to come in and participate and not work against the educators, but alongside the educators, so they can really bridge the knowledge of real life experiences and what's teaching you, being taught as theories. You know, how does that actually play through in real life? So with that said, how do students sign up for this going forward? Can they still, because now you say it's offline?
Yes, so it's offline. So after running it for 2 years online, we basically partnered up with Harvard Student Agencies, which is a student-run body out of Harvard University, which basically took over the program. So now this program, you can still apply for it via Harvard Student Agencies, but it's a much downsized operation because they have to do it physically at Harvard.
And which is not necessarily a bad thing a lot of times, because if you're finding that group of students that's actually really keen and they're not just here to, you know, to play, but that they're here to get serious about something, like this is when maybe you don't have to waste time on the 40,000 to find out one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, yes, it's a much smaller number, but it's a much more impactful and concentrated numbers. So you can still apply via Harvard Student Agencies, but I would just like, via this platform, right, I will recommend students to just apply for anything. Right? You know, just apply for competitions, hackathons, anything which you can get access to, because the experiential learning and the knowledge you get from it, like I always tell people, right, as a student entrepreneur, like becoming an entrepreneur as a student is the best thing you can do because you have nothing to lose. You don't have a kid to feed. You know, you don't have any dependence on you. What's the worst which will happen? The startup will fail and you will have a degree and you can go and get a job. As simple as that, right? But not taking the risk is the biggest risk. Because if you took the risk, like a failed startup is still 10 times better than a successful MBA. Because I learned marketing in university. So I learned only about marketing, yes, about certain subjects. But when I start a company and I scale it to even certain extent, I learn about accounting, supply chain, marketing, HR, manufacturing, distribution, sales, marketing, everything. So it is a crash course of what you will study in business school over 4 years. So why not start something? That's my thinking, right?
Okay, so I want to ask you a deeper. I want to go deeper on your failures, actually, because you've done so many. Like you said, like failures it's how you look at it. It's not necessarily failure, but it's probably a really good lesson that catapulted you to where you are today because of what you've learned. You know, when you've done something that maybe didn't have the most favorable outcome. What are some of those experiences that's happened that's really shaped or given you this, you know, light?
For sure. I mean, first of all, right, this is like become my go-to saying in anywhere I do public speaking, right? That for me, FAIL is an acronym which stands for first attempt in learning, right? FAIL, first attempt in learning, because a failure is only qualified as a failure if you don't learn out of it. If you learned out of it, it's a learn. It's not a failure. So for me, I wear my failures as my badges of pride because those are my learning steps. Those are my stepping stones to, like, you know, learn. And like even today, every day I fail as an entrepreneur, right? Like, yes, we launched in Singapore right now, but we're not doing well, you know, we're like, we have to do more, you know, like, and I get rejections every day from bars and bottle shops till date that, hey, you're too expensive. Hey, our customers won't like the idea of sustainability. But I think formationally, right, I think the ability to cope with failures is more important. Like, for example, I would say the one experience which really shaped my ability to cope with failures was that I was standing up for the student council elections in my high school. And I did not get elected as the, you know, like the leader of the student council or whatever. And for me, you know, like, because it's like people hyping you up that you'll do it. You have that in your mind that you'll do it, but you set the expectation and the bar so high and you don't make it, right? So there's a lot to do with how you manage expectations and how you manage those failures, but like how you come out of it, right? Like, for example, right, even at HKUST, there's this one popular program called Global Business, right? Only 40 students accepted every year. And you can apply for a major 3 times at HKUST. I applied all 3 times to get into global business, and I was rejected all 3 times, right? And after, I graduated with Breer and all of these things, the program director said it was our loss, not yours.
Yeah.
Right? Because
I was like, you didn't get accepted to a program. You were actually start to run global businesses.
Exactly, right? So every failure has to strengthen you. So I feel there have been so many failures across Breer's journey as well, right? Like, I remember one of the biggest mistakes, failures, learning was that I remember we had this contract with a big, large conglomerate for bread collection, right? And you're still a small company and you're resource constrained. So we had like this one small fridge in which we would store the bread. And I remember we had to do a test batch, and we required like 5 kgs of bread. And then we spoke to this company, we went to collect, and they gave us 10 kgs of bread instead of 5. And now like we have to take it, right? We can't reject it, but we only need 5. So our small fridge could only fit 5. So we stored the 5, and we had no other option but to leave the 5 outside. And then this was like already 2 a.m. in the night. We were like, let's go and sleep. We'll figure it out tomorrow. And when we came back tomorrow morning, the cleaners had thrown it away, the 5 kgs of bread, right? Yeah. And then we get a call from the university sustainability office that, this company you had the contract with is extremely anguished because their brand was tarnished, that people find their bread in the garbage area and things like that. And the company took away the contract. Like, they stopped giving us bread, right? And it was such a big learning about how do you manage stakeholders.
Yes.
Like, I am still an 18-year-old, 19-year-old. Like, how do I do board meetings? How do I go into relationships? Right? The fact that how do you manage relationships at the corporate level is such a valuable learning, which I got when I was 19.
Yes.
Right? That you have to manage expectations. You have to be truthful. You have to be honest. And, we could have maybe rejected the 5 kgs there. At least we would have still saved the contract, but we were like, might as well take it. We'll figure it out. But we weren't able to figure it out. So I think all of these learnings were really important in like forming, like now what we do at Breer or any of my other experiences, right? How do you communicate? How do you manage expectations? And I feel at the end of it, all of it is really to do with integrity and values.
Yes.
Like if you're able to deal with it, you'll make it. But some people get so bogged down by failures or so, like overwhelmed by failures that it's very difficult for them to come out of it. And I think the more you train yourself to deal with it, the more you can, excel and scale in life.
Right. That's a really good way of looking at things. Can we get our next one?
Next one and our bestseller, actually.
Oh, really?
So it's
great.
Once I introduce it, you'll be like, I'm so excited.
Because I want to make sure we have something great for my next question.
Amazing. So this one is actually our bestseller, and it recently won Best IPA in Hong Kong as well. So IPA stands for like Indian Pale Ale, right? So these are again more like a very nuanced beer, I would say, and a most popular choice for craft beer in Hong Kong. I was like, if it's the most popular choice, we will do it with the most popular bread of Hong Kong, which is bolo bao.
I was just gonna say.
So it's a pineapple bun beer, right? And people
I want to pan on his face right now.
People go crazy over it.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite beer, and it's a beer when we launch, it's sold out before launch, right? Like as soon as we restock, it's sold out before we even restock. So, and I would really recommend you drinking it. First, give it a smell.
Yeah.
So you realize how much nuanced this beer is.
Oh, even the color.
Yeah, it's very hazy.
It's the ball of bao top. It does have a... Gosh, I feel like it has a pineapple smell, but it's the pineapple, but doesn't have any pineapple.
Exactly. So that's the story I was coming to, right? So me as an expat, I didn't know pineapple bun doesn't have pineapple, right? So when we made the first beer from pineapple bun, I was like, why does it not taste like pineapple? And then my co-founder, who's local, like she told me that it doesn't have pineapple, so it should not taste like pineapple. But I'm like, do you really think expats will know that it doesn't have pineapple? And then we obviously did customer service for us to understand everyone thinks bolo bao has pineapple, right?
Yeah.
And then we intentionally add fresh pineapple to the recipe.
Okay, that makes
And that's
sense.
why there's pineapple flavor in this.
Okay, I thought my eyes were tricking my sense of smell, you know?
No. And so now this is the most alcohol beverage content in our beers. It's 6.3% because of the sugar in bolo bao. So the bolo bao is already so sugary, right? So if you look at plain white bread, you can start with the lager at 4.8. But the bolo bao is so sugary that the beer becomes 6.3. So if I tomorrow use a donut, it might be 8%. If I use a chocolate croissant, it might be 10%. So yeah.
What about the oils in the bread? Because in local Chinese bread, like bolo bao, they use lard.
Yeah.
I guess when you go to India, they use ghee.
Yeah.
In Singapore, I have no idea what they do, but
So yes, there is, like, we obviously have to use bolo baos which doesn't have lard, otherwise it becomes a non-vegetarian beer in many regards,
See,
right?
yes.
So we use bolo baos which don't have lard. But at the same time, the reason you mention oils, right? So oils disturb the stability of the beer. Like, it won't be a stable beer. It'll have a very off taste. That's why what we do is whenever we're working with a new bread, we first lab test the bread and we understand what all will this add to the beer. And then we figure out the recipe around that bread. So this bread intentionally has to have lactose.
okay.
Otherwise, we cannot make a stable beer, right? So it is a very nuanced process. That's why other beer companies can launch a beer in a month. We cannot, because there's so much R&D involved, right?
I was just gonna say, because it's like coming back to in fashion when we talk about having your virgin polyester fabric versus your recycled polyester fabric. It actually takes so much more time and energy to get recycled materials into the fabric because you have to do so much cleanup. Basically, long story short, right? I'm guessing with beer also, because when you're fermenting beer from the wheats, it's so easy. It's you know exactly what that ingredient is, right? But with beer, with beer, you have to first find out so much more.
Yeah.
So that's why the process is
much more longer. And then you obviously have to achieve the right balance of taste.
Right.
Balance is the most important thing. And like, one common feedback I've heard across all of our beers is, right, that there is slightly less carbonation compared to if you pour like a Qingdao or Asahi, because there is oils in the bread. So it will stop carbonation from happening. So we try our best to retain as much as possible, but I can say it openly that it won't be exact. Right.
The first one was super carbonated.
Yes, because that's, again, the lightest beer, right? And the most simplest bread. So that's why that's literally the recipe of the first one is 5 ingredients. So like, there's no fidgeting going on with the recipe or different types of, elements. But as soon as you make it more for example, right? So last winter, Mercedes was launching like their EV. Or something like that, right? And they wanted a local product to give to like people who were coming to the launch event. So they're like, can you guys do something? So we made like a egg waffle beer for them.
Yes. Oh,
and
interesting.
It was like, they were like, we want something local. And, can you do something, because it's winter, so can you do a stout? So we did like an egg waffle stout for Mercedes. And now egg waffle, right? It's not even a bread.
Yeah.
But it has sugar.
Yes.
Right? So you can make beer out of that. So it's like, you have to do testing, but we already told them that getting fermentation, like getting carbonation in this is going to be tough, you know, because it's like egg waffle. There's like so much gone into the batter already.
Yeah, so much.
So there are nuances there, but like brands love to work with us because it is their way of checking 2 very important boxes: local and sustainable.
Yeah.
right? So us working with Swire Properties, like, they have rooftop farms and they had pandan leaves which were drying up. So we made like a pandan milkshake IPA for Swire Properties. There's Hong Kong Tramways, which had their 120th anniversary. And then, we made like a egg tart beer, and the egg tarts were collected across the tramway route.
Yeah.
So like, they got the story to tell. So similarly, we just work with so many brands and enable them to be sustainable. Rather like 7-Eleven, Maxims, all of these are same stories, right? Our largest partnership in Hong Kong is with Maxims.
Yeah.
Because Maxims controls like 70% of the bread supply chain in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Right? So,
and I've approached Maxims many times about brand donations or bun runs, and they said they've already donated to somebody, so I guess that's you.
No, I mean, there are many people. So they donate to Feeding Hong Kong, they donate to Fish Feed Farms, they donate to us, they donate because
they do have a lot.
Control so much, you waste so much, right? So you have to donate so much. And Maxims has been an incredible supporter for Breer, right? So we make 2 products with them, which sells in almost all their restaurants. So like Kagura, Kikusan, Senryo, Thai Basil, Wildfire. Like you have over 250 restaurants, right? Soon we will sell in like some of their other restaurants like Shake Shack.
I was going to say, you need to be in Shake Shack because they have their food waste.
That's the next step. That's the next step. So we're going to do that. And we're working with them on some really interesting products for their tea houses as well. So there's a lot of things which we're doing with them. They're also very experimental and one of our most trusted partners.
Great. Let's get our last one.
Yeah. Most excited about the last one actually because that's something which you probably wouldn't have had ever.
Okay, I'm excited to try because it's been very, very good so far. And it's so very interesting how when you guys close this, it's actually all in. Like this is a mandarin.
Correct.
And this is...
Both of them are breads, yes.
What's the difference between that one and this one?
It's the same one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay, cool.
So the last one is something which, I proudly stand for because this is purely driven by customer feedback. So one thing I still like to do very actively is do pop-up booths because that's where you hear customer feedback live, right? So I remember this came to me in a pop-up booth that someone said that, hey, I want to support your mission, but I'm Muslim and I cannot drink. How can you help me? Or like, I'm pregnant or I'm lactose intolerant or I'm this. Like, there are so many people who, and in general, there's a health trend where people are trying to like, do away from alcohol. So you're like,
and I feel like in the whole motion of being inclusive, no one's ever thought about the person that doesn't drink alcohol,
Correct.
We're all like, oh, we're going to go party, we have so much fun, we're going to have drink. What about the person who wants the beer but doesn't drink?
Exactly. So we created a non-alcoholic beer and our take on non-alcoholic was very different from other brands, right? We wanted to celebrate Hong Kong, but we wanted people to feel like, oh, you're not drinking beer, you're drinking a pina colada, you're drinking a juice. So we used Gai Mei Bao, which is cocktail bun, has a coconut filling. So when you drink it, it's like you're drinking pina colada, but non-alcohol.
That's awesome.
So in a beer, right?
Yes.
So, and you know how it's like semicircle shape.
Yeah.
So that's why this closes in that specific way.
That's so cute.
So this is a non-alcoholic beer and now we're going really big on the non-alcoholic segment. We're launching another non-alcoholic beer really soon. So you'll see the color being very light because it has no fermentation. So it has to be a light color.
And I actually was at a coffee rave with my son.
Okay, nice.
He's 9 years old. But we were meeting one of my customers who ran the place. So he just stopped by with me and came by. And coffee rave being totally fine because they were serving cookies and coffees, and he can get iced chocolate if he wanted. But they had a sponsor that day, so actually they had non-alcoholic beer on premise. And when it's summer right now, so it's hot. So when we arrived, my son, I gave him the non-alcoholic beer because it was given to me. I drank some of it, and I was like, oh, this is not really beer. I looked at it and I gave it to him, and he likes it. But so let's see how this one tastes. Cheers. Oh, I can taste the coconut. It tastes like summer in a cup. It tastes like coconut water in a way, but like more crisp.
Yeah, and a beer.
But non-alcoholic. Mm. So, I mean, honestly, Naman, it seems to me like you're already super successful and you've only graduated for like 2 years.
Around near that.
It's
Yeah.
summer now, we're almost there.
Yeah.
Okay, but even though I think you're so successful already, how do you define success?
For me, the definition of success is impact. For me, the companies I start, the impact they create is my success. Profit is a part of it, but it's the larger impact which they're creating. The fact that till Breer's history, right, we've been able to save close to 200 tons of bread not going to a landfill, right? More than 40 tons of carbon emissions not being emitted in the environment. That's success, right? Profit is a byproduct. It will come if you have a right product. But for me, the success on a business side is definitely the impact I create, right? Because that is what is my purpose in life. On a personal side, success to me means how can I create more people who think like me, right? Because for me, like, this is an effort to make more people aware that we need impact-driven businesses. We need purpose-driven businesses. And the fact that we have corporates like Maxims working with 3 or 4-year-old companies where they could have worked with a Carlsberg, a Heineken, an AB and Bev, right? Just goes out to show that this has to change across all institutions, government, education, corporates, startups, everywhere, right? Where one of the biggest challenges I faced when I start any company is like, oh, you're a baby, you're too young, how will you start? And I'm like, I will let my actions speak for myself. I don't want to defend my age, right? I'm still learning. Learning will always be a work in progress. But on the personal side, right, I mentor so many students. Like, for example, I'm a part of a program where I mentor ethnic minority students, which are disadvantaged compared to other students, right? So it's like, how can I just enable more people to, like, that's my way of like giving back. That's my mission of how we can create more people with this mindset that whatever they do, they think from the lens of impact. And that is what matters to me, right? And in the end, there should be commercial success, always,
Yes.
right? Don't do it out of a charity. Don't put your interests below society's interest. Always put yourself first. But don't maximize shareholder value, maximize stakeholder value. And think about everyone who's involved in the supply chain. The people who are making the bread, the people who are making for example, right, our cans, because we get the bread for free, could be cheaper. But the labels are soy-based ink labels. The can is recycled aluminum because it matters. And literally so many people have made the pitch to me that, like, now everyone knows you as a bread beer brand. Stop using bread. Go to China, make it for like 1/10 the cost and then make so much money. Like, that's not the purpose. The purpose comes first. Profit will be a balanced byproduct of the outcome. So for me, success professionally is impact, and personally is how I can create more people with this mindset.
When I look at you now, I think success is how you can shape the world.
How we can create more change makers, how we can make the world a better place to live.
Yeah. I'm so happy we had you here today. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure being here at Conscious Cut.
Thank you.